In this video, I will reveal some secrets that I found through programming, what I called a ray tracer. And probably those secrets are coming out, I'm not sure. I'm only halfway through the video. But I can talk about what has been talked about already. So we have to have objects in the scene, and plenty of them. And it talks about there's a field of view, so you don't actually render these objects. There is occlusion culling, so if you have this, it blocks the objects inside. And there's also depth mapping, so you don't draw this object, you draw only this one, because it's also blocked. Now, none of these methods make sense to me, by the way. Maybe the perspective makes sense, but even that one is kind of cringe. Because you still have to know where every object is. The first thing that makes no sense at all is the depth map that this guy is actually sort of halfway complaining of, like, there's a chicken and the egg problem of, like, you have to draw everything, then you get the depth map, then you have to redraw everything again, which is kind of stupid. Like, you don't draw it then. The way you do this is, like, you take positions of things and their size, and you double check what you're going to be drawing, basically, what you're likely to be drawing. And if there's empty spaces in your screen, you'll continue searching for that data. This is the way that I've been doing, but there's a lot of objects, there's a lot of little things, and a lot of little gaps to fill in, and that's a problem. So how do you find the data that you need? By ray tracing, right? That's what I'm doing, technically. Very, very technically. It's very complicated to understand. What I've been doing in the past, like 2-3 years ago when I was discovering this shit. Actually, now 40, I don't know, bro. It's a long time now. But I've seemingly mastered one aspect of this idea. And I've mastered the idea of, like, how I organize these things, right? What is the array of, like, sorting things and organizing things? And the best array is obviously having 1,000,000 points array, almost, but only like 200 objects or 2,000 objects. So I split the screen into pieces, and I see where the objects, like, belong in. And sometimes they belong in multiple areas at once. So I'm like, well, I'll pull them in, put them in this array, and then I'll check with Raytracer if I need this data or not. And the rays will split into pieces of searching deeper and deeper to fill in the gaps, basically. That's it. That's literally it, my friends. That's how my ray tracer works. And I want to see if we're going to go deeper with this video.
Depth buffer. If it's behind the values in the depth buffer.
So you need to check so much data. The best way to do it is, again, the ray tracing, where you grabbing data from the world, the stuff that you need, right? Until you have everything you need. That is a much more efficient way to do it. Now, there are problems with that. Because, well, not necessarily. Technically, like, you take a pixel, but the pixel has to, like, shade itself and all that crap afterwards, and I have no idea how to do any of these. I just came in of, like, I want things to render properly. You know, Unity fucking sucks in every single imaginable aspect and has to be fixed. And I just want things to render quickly and show up in the world quickly. Like, I don't want to waste time right now. And this was a liberating moment for me. I just click play and it was pretty fast rendering any object I want, technically. Any creation I want. It's just I stopped there. everything rendered, and I stopped there, and I'm like, because I didn't know what to do with it necessarily, and I still don't really know. Yeah, I didn't use MIP levels. I'm just like, well, technically I did, I think, to some extent, because like you can, by grabbing data, you can be like, oh, I just need this chunk of data, and I will grab whatever I can get, and I will just fill in this gap with whatever. You can be brutal. You can be pretty desperate sometimes. This is so interesting though. And yes, this array is a little bit more complicated, but basically you just put things based on their depth and size, right? And another thing is the way you organize the array. The closer something is, the more intense the array is supposed to be. So when we go like from numbers from 1 to 2, like things are very intense. You even like care about 1.5 and stuff. But when you go from hundreds and 200s, it's basically a logarithmic scale. Everyone knows that shit. Log.
But that's created as part of rendering the scene.
You know, he's talking about the chicken and egg problem. It's weird, bro. It's weird. This method is so simple in a way now that I have it. I've crafted it myself. I've never heard anyone do it. Except one company, Euclidean, bro. Fucking assholes that don't actually disclose how anything is rendered. Even though it's pretty detailed and crazy. And you can make even crazier technology out of it, like holograms and stuff. And it definitely has to work a little bit differently than just spit triangles onto your face. Nah, bro. This is a superior method. And the ray tracing has been proven to actually improve shading by ability to just, now focus on the pixel and now just bounce around the ray until... yeah, the bounce around the ray is not that easy, unfortunately. Because what are you going to bounce it from? And I have no idea. This bouncy ray thing, like, what? Leave me alone, basically. I don't want to shade anything. I just want to render things properly so I don't have to suffer through lag when things appear or disappear, when triangles have to appear and disappear, Like, I don't want that shit. I want things to be very organized. The one big downside is that this is what I used. And this is actually pretty bad. All right? Things have to organize around you in like a circle. And still, while you're moving around, you don't want to like move the circle yet. You want to move the circle when it's like appropriate. It's a little bit of a laggy process when you burst through the circle. And basically this actually searches every single object. So while you're rotating, nothing changes. You get full frames per second. Nothing has to be updated. The array stay the same. But everything around you has to be logged, so to speak. And technically it already is, I would imagine. I still don't know the full details of everything because graphic computing is pretty stressful, I'm not gonna lie. To learn everything, I swear, bro. Well, look, let's watch this book appearing out of nowhere. Thank you. I am very motivated now.
Raster.
So yeah, basically this video was born out of the idea that these graphics are pretty insane. There's a lot of shit on the screen. How the fuck did that happen, right? Will we get to that solution is the question. Because again, we're kind of transitioning into ray tracing anyways. And this is something I also was excited besides AI technology. AI technology apparently came first. Interesting. And still, this one is on the works, it seems. But again, it's like not publicly available. And a lot of AI technology is also not publicly available. You have to find it. And this one, you can sort of craft it yourself if you're a genius. So that's cool. I guess they're being released side by side that way.
Quickly.
And I do mean genius because you still have to learn the graphics programming language. It's slightly different than C or whatever. But overall, this is very doable. I just don't know, like, how I will do it if I'll ever come back to this. But I feel pretty forced. Holy shit.
And your software rasterizer is...
Again, low polying assets, it's kind of also cringe. Like when you're grabbing data, you grab whatever you want. But with this, it's a little bit weird. It's where you kind of like summoning extra polygons just to see the simplified thing. It's weird. I don't get it, bro. This simplifies everything. Like past this point, there's like no questions asked. Besides just putting it together and testing, which I did, and it works. It's still laggy because I still have to optimize some bullshit, but it still runs like 60 frames per second with millions of objects on the screen. And I still like open Minecraft and I'm like, shit, how did they do that? They still render more objects, it seems. But yeah, those objects mostly are like chunked together, they're stitched together, so you don't actually see most of them, you just see the surface of Minecraft, which is still impressive. It's crazy to me. Because you can see a forest of Minecraft, and it's like, now it's a question. Now you can't just stitch together. You see a lot of polygons anyways. So I don't know, man. And then Hightail's supposed to show up and do the same thing. Show me another middle finger of how I'm too slow of a game developer.
Is basically
Can't even release a render.
For drawing out some raw net effect of them.
I mean, these bragging about like small objects being occluded successfully by the wall. I was like, oh, sure, whatever. This took way too long for a very impressive video.
One giant.
It's kind of like fixing a bug in the middle of nowhere, where you're supposed to impress me and explain the shit out of those high quality games.
The raw horsepower they have is absolutely unmatched, and that gap is only growing every year.
Yeah, but it is fascinating that it's that better.
So given a node in the tree, you do a query using that node's combined bounding volume, saving you the CPU.
That is a very smart idea, combined value. This is what I thought about it. Like, how do I build things? Do I just like split the entire world into like boxes and stuff? But yeah, you actually like have to build trees, it seems. And I thought about it too. But it's still a little bit complicated of like, where does the object go in what kind of part of the tree? But it still makes more sense. And I do need other people to pitch in and explain their perspective or their flow of work for things to clear up. And I'm still like, actively listening and looking for this information in a way. And this just popped up 2 weeks ago, apparently. Fucking Merry Christmas, boys.
CPU.
Basically, you can potentially even make a tree out of all these objects and blob them up. I'm not sure. I still like the array thing, which is also a tree technically. You can split this array into like 6 pieces, then split them a little bit more precisely and all that stuff. And you have to basically place all the objects together, and they occlude each other pretty well, and you don't have to worry about shit, because you, again, ray tracing, you're grabbing data that you need. So the data that you don't need is now occluded. You pick 1 pixel at a time if you want. Now, obviously it's pretty weird, because a lot of triangles have like multiple pixels at them. So technically, in a way, you can pick that 1 pixel, find a triangle or an object, and pick every pixel in return. Right? Pick more than 1 pixel as you're returning the data. So that's cool. And then that object will start occluding, or we'll find something nearer that will get hit, and we'll do the same thing. And you probably just keep on doing with the pixels that still remain unchecked on your screen that you're still looking for. That's ray tracing. And ray tracing has barely anything to do with, like, you know, light mapping and bouncing the light around. I'm just grabbing data, bro. And that's what Euclidean developer also says. Like, it's a very, very sophisticated search engine.
Into one in the...
Again, this is like overly complicated. Even like low resolution thing is a mess. Like, of course, if you're desperate, you can have all this data of like triangles. If there's gaps next to it, you just like, well, extend the triangle a little bit. Fuck that shit. Of course, it's gonna be like flickering effects and shit. But I'm like, fuck, man, like, I just want things to like not look like this and not feel like this in the code. I want to have control over this nonsense.
Work you can find, let the GPU do its thing, and then do your single read back afterwards, then it's not the end of the world.
It is the end of the world because I have no idea what the fuck's going on anymore. By the way, this thing, this array, I use it already in this in order to sort my top 100 or whatever. I still have to, like, I have a value of like depth and whatnot, and I have to sort it as quickly as possible and accurately so it's, you know, in the correct position. So I just throw things at a very high array and then start reading the array. You can still make things more efficient here. But again, I crudely put together the renderer. I can't show it because it's not available. It's there, technically. Spawns, the main, stuff like that. These are like rendering versions in a way. This is the scene. I still have everything in here, but I don't think I can make it work. The main task manager. I probably even removed it. I don't know. And obviously all this shit has to be rewritten. This is probably not even all of it. I can't tell. Well, there's these. There's two helpers, one geometry helper and definition helper. And apparently I don't need much else. Alright. So that's that. Then there's input helper, I think it's... No, it's just a very generic one. We have these ones, they're not highlighted. Even ProFont, I believe, is a thing. Raycast, the Raycast matters. Actually, there's more than I thought. Shit, I thought I put redacted code somewhere properly, but it's here. Is it HP? No, it's the simplifier. Wow, I used T. What? This must be someone else's code, right? Yeah, I still can't tell. This is a generic helper. It's so messy. Maybe it's render. Yeah, this is where everything starts, I think. And again, everything is like overly complicated. I don't like it anymore. Everything has to be rewritten. I was just digging for a solution to this problem. And now it's technically picking up dust because I don't know what is what anymore. Well, technically I do. It's not that complicated. I even started like doing like very cool things with this. Messing with shaders, building my own shaders where things are rendered. So if you have a plane, if you have a little square rendering, then you can put any texture or animation to it. So I was doing droplets. I figured out how to render a droplet with a triangle and a circle. And just put that shit and make it rain on one block. So that was a thing. There's a lot of things that I've done. Absolutely. But the main thing is way more important than the rest. And the most proud thing is that all these objects, these ones are very hard to move. But my objects are incredibly easy to move around because they just, you know, get re-established in the array very quickly. It's just technically just a distance array. The more distance the object is, well, the larger the number, and that's it. And then there's a placement of which array to use based on this thing. Obviously, in 3 dimensions, there's a few more nodes to look at, but technically up and down node is, they're all stitched together, like, why not? It's just slices of the screen. You can simplify it to ridiculous extent, it feels like. But now we're already, like, splitting away from the actual solution, so where are we going? Will we actually get this? Please? No? Does he understand? Is it available information in the first place? I'm scared now. I want you guys to understand how powerful this shit is. But I can't just do a marathon video to find something more reasonable. And look through all these things. Let's label it spawned. Because that is technically my final form, basically. That technically was where I left off. Didn't get fucking likes or anything, bro. Because I filled it up with a lot of stuff. A lot of information that I have to deal with. Plus Hearthstone that I play in the background, apparently. But it's very interesting to observe this shit. Again, there's a lot of things being rendered, my friends. If not like million objects. Because these are not necessarily Minecraft-sized blocks. They're very, very small. And they're free-flowing. They can rotate, they can do whatever they want. Right now, I think they sort of look into the camera. And I think it only affects mountains, maybe? Obviously, you have artifacts of me not filling up the data with just basic stuff. Or like the averages. There's so many things you can do with graphic rendering and stuff. Obviously, like, again, the dark spots are not acceptable here. But I want to find more stuff. Literally, I play Hearthstone and I do this. What is this format, right? Like, what? Some, this is a much older version. And you can see it's pretty laggy, right? But you also saw me putting things down into chunks. Is that it? Is that all I show? Disgusting, man. How dare I? I call this spawned engine by now. So we should be able to search for engine. It's very exciting, but I call everything the spawned engine in a way. So all these like giant videos, that's where it's all at. But I just released 3 of them. Quick fix version. Is that it, bro? Uh-huh. I do like the way this shit looks. Just want to fucking stare at it.
From one.
It's so overwhelming. The very, very first few steps of like, oh, I can do this, and then I can shuffle those boxes around as much as I want. Just to render this is pretty impressive.
Separately. So yeah, that's very important.
And technically all the boxes are being rendered.
And who knows what the first object? What should?
This is so overwhelming to be inside of this thing with a bunch of colors. I do like that, but it's so weird. It's just 3 videos. Functional spawned engine 0 views because thumbnail looks like shit. But if we dig deeper, we get nothing. This is even older version actually in the end. So I'll have to figure this out. And I did. I did figure it out. Step by step, you know, you get closer and closer to this shit. I want to double check, of course. But now it's requiring scrolling for all the videos. And now, even then, it's a little bit complicated because I'm half ranting, half updating stuff. So it's hard to tell what is what. This is how it looked like, this whole system, how it looked like back in the day. I don't want to take a screenshot of that shit. Now we're going to nostalgic idea. Digging deeper, because I need to know where I left off. Plus more, because I clicked on that one, of course. This is the last update and everything. We looked at that. But I need more, bro. After I came back, after the dead year, there's a big gap here, but after I came back, it wasn't the vibe for me to do anything like this complicated, even though I really wanted to come back. But I never really created a plan properly. It's kind of annoying. But that's how fucking destroyed I was. I was only able to spit out some, you know, mediocre content. But I still changed my content style into like 10-minute videos. That's something. You know, that bullshit. Oh look, it's a timer. I can just summon one in one click. And technically make it even more special with milliseconds and whatnot. Or like actually split minutes from seconds. But you just do math, bro. Just do math. This many seconds is this many minutes. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, this is me still bouncing around and not finding a safe space. Well, let's see what kind of screenshot we have here. Look at the resolution of this shit. Holy crap. It is 3 frames per second, though. It finally looks good. But it's not looking good, but it's high resolution, so it's like 4 times more threads, 4 times more resolution. This is how Minecraft's supposed to look like. You know, and I have to reach this level of rendering. It's pretty disgusting. The grass is the most disgusting thing of all because it actually, I mean, it's a very good example of what I can do with this ray tracer. Also, the black spots are sort of like gone. So if you optimize this and push it to 60 frames per second, I believe this is happening because I constantly have to readjust where things are in the arrays. Because the more pixels you have, the more difficult it is to just throw a bunch of arrays and build arrays with that. Arrays and rays, boys. Isn't that amazing? Arrays into rays. And it makes sense. The sentence makes sense, actually. Yeah, this is probably the best shot we have of the engine, and I'm proud of that. Is everything rotating? Yes, everything. Every single object is rotating, by the way, and it doesn't have anything to do with lag. The rotation is just for fun. Doesn't work very well at the moment, but if I reduce the resolution, let's see what starts happening. It gets bad. I can imagine calculate times 9, right? Fucking using all kinds of calculators out of desperation. It is I'm getting more and more excited about this like leftover project. I probably want to bring it back to life, simply because it's just so cool, right? And this is just, again, the basics of what you can see, the possibilities of how I can replace textures and how can I make floaty things and moving things. All this shit is like incredibly endless. And yeah, like people struggled putting a lot of objects on the screen like this. Like these are tons and tons of objects. That is the envelope I'm trying to push. The boundaries I'm trying to push is the specific problem of having millions of objects. This, what you can see, is just a layer of 20,000 objects built on top of like tons of objects that technically exist in there, you know? But they're still like just numbers. They're not actual. I don't know, bro. It's just hard to tell what thing's supposed to be in this case. When even just to summon a button, bro, I have to summon this, you know, pack of cookies. I can't summon all the 40 at once because it's gonna populate the area. I don't need that. I can do this pretty fast, but it actually lags if I summon all of these at once. Even just fucking 40 cookies. Summoning all at once, you have to make a workaround. It's absolutely unacceptable, bro. But this is amazing. I love this. I want a screenshot like this. Holy shit. This is amazing. So for a very long time, I've been working with this, right? And there's a very set size until I did the chunk rendering where you can like shift around from one place to the other, and you will still get this landscape. It's fascinating. It's just the moment you start working like with like physics and actually interacting with objects, I mean, now it's a headache beyond your wildest dreams. I mean, I can render the objects, but they don't exist. You know, that's the problem. If you want to interact with them, holy shit, man. I don't know what to do with that. Because now you have to actually summon something in Unity. Like, you have to do something. Some kind of interactions have to be happening and be calculated almost the same way as rendering is calculated. I'm not even sure. This stuff is, you have to analyze very carefully. I just want to render things for now. And I'll be very, very happy if I can do that efficiently enough. Not just like 4 frames per second, you know. Even the first... There's a little bit of that going on. I believe now I started implementing the logarithmic scale. I just didn't know exactly how to do everything. You know, this very little thing where distant objects don't matter as much as the close ones. But at the same time, you have to be precise enough so things don't fucking flicker on the screen like this. Because they are, in fact, like tightly fit together, right? You don't want to mess that composition as well. But at the same time, you don't have... well, it will continue flickering on the screen. I have no idea, bro. At this point, now you need AI maybe to, like, organize things even more cleanly so things don't just flicker, that they retain some kind of values. But even like this, like, it's crazy, bro, to achieve this level. And this is where I ended up. Not sure if I show anything else. Rendering limit. This is also Well, you see that most of the stuff from this video. Testing spawn performance. Alright. The thumbnail looks like Hearthstone thumbnail. How impressive is that? 2K and 4K is now quite significant. So I discover that I can like change resolution somehow of some kind. I'm not sure anymore what I'm doing. And I'm not sure how I will rework this because I have to learn all of the little things all over again. It is like the final boss. Maybe I'll do it next year. Actually, what I want to do today is to fight a different thing. Fight this little thing. This doesn't look like much, but, you know, it has code and stuff. A foreign code, so to speak, that I have to learn and deal with, basically. Again, everything is overcomplicated, so it's very difficult to understand how to optimize anything. You have to rework everything from scratch. But while this guy is just showing, you know, some basic plain field with a bunch of squares, a few squares, and explaining things, how it would work, in theory, I can actually just plug in a bunch of blocks or a structure of any kind, anything I want. As long as I have the code for it and the textures for it, I can plug in anything. I can create blobs of these things and leaves and all that shit moving around.
Absolutely state-of-the-art system.
These things are not moving around enough, bro. But it is, you know, fluffy. I guess that's cool. I would imagine these are just circles, but fluffy ones with interesting textures. And that's it. I mean, I say it's pretty fancy if you can do that. But I can do that too. And I'm not impressed, unfortunately. Now, looking back, is this impressive now in comparison to what I can do? Sure. Sure, it is pretty impressive, especially with like high frame rate. But I am just one-man team, unfortunately, and still separated from humanity. It's like an alien fucking software engineer. Where are we right now? We have to go back to this tab and keep looking at stuff. I have to change stuff about this, so I will quickly make a thumbnail and all that shit. Apparently in nostalgia videos, we don't just do that. We actually repurpose the video a little bit. And now we have basically raycasting engine renamed with thumbnail and everything. Max. Like, it pisses me off to hear that people are still struggling to even put together a video and that explains this stuff of like, oh, it's too kind of very complicated, I would imagine. So let's finish this one.
A lot of special.
Like, it pisses me off that there's still not a good engine that I just pick up and use easily and don't have to worry about performance issues or whatever. But it is what it is, man. I'm no longer making games anymore. So what's the point, right? I just kind of like gave up on that idea. And you get excited of like, wow, okay, I can do this and summon trees and stuff and cool, but I want a Minecraft now. I want things to be interactive. Yeah, good luck with that shit. That problem has not been solved yet.
That stuff doesn't change too much from frame to frame. That's still good, but the technique was...
Yeah, the actual assumption should be that your character doesn't move from frame to frame too far, right? That should be the assumption, and you should be actually handling data all around the player, it feels like, to me. Because once you establish this bubble of data, and ray trace everything and set the objects around you properly, in their respective positions. Then again, you just move around, the bubble burst, boom, rearrange everything. Maybe it drops one frame every now and then to do that, but it's very fast, very cool stuff that you can do. And once you rearrange the arrays, then you're dealing with just grabbing data, and that's it. And I did it with GPU, and I finally dug up a treasure, but I'm still like not treated in a way that like I would want to work on this shit. You know, it's a human problem now. It's like we're all just isolated idiots running around like that. You know, it's a good representation of how I feel. There's no NPC to even interact with, let alone fucking impress with my rendering skills. Even if I do the whole thing, even if I become the fucking Euclidean master that has been renaming itself in a way, right? Or it just left the technology like that, and people try to figure out how it works. It's a hoax and whatnot. No, it's not a hoax. It's fairly doable. And now they do it with holovers. You know, they renamed the operation. It's like, well, okay. And it pisses me off, to be honest. Because now I'm like, now I still have to do everything myself, basically. But it's possible. You know, went pretty decent way already. The only time I will impress people is by releasing some cool game. And imagine every single one of these turning into cards or whatever. Some tokens you collect. There's so much you can do. It's so fascinating to me. I could have established a very simple interaction when you just like, you come up to an object and it disappears. Or you can build things. I could have made something as basic as that because it is possible. But I didn't. What a downer. Now, the best thing I can do is obviously revive this. And if I defeat this fast enough, I promise to try and revive the code. It's probably impossible for me. It's probably all gone to waste because as you update Unity, everything just falls apart and you don't know what is what anymore. I'm just saying, bro, this is dead. But the idea is not dead. The education is not dead, which is all that matters, right? Well, it's also kind of dead because I still have to write a GPU code, which is very difficult to do. And I have to learn from scratch again. It sucks, but it's possible to piece things together. Go back to the same level. That's what nostalgia does. It's like, well, you did left something behind, my friends. Do you want it? Oh shit, this one's pretty good. Okay, maybe it is worth it. There's so much data to handle, and AI can actually tell you exactly where the performance gets hit the most, especially that I'm rendering distant objects exactly the same way as the close objects, which is usually not the way to do things. There's a lot of things to question here. And once you hit 60 FPS, you stop right there. You just stop. Once you're comfortable, you stop right there. Rendering is fine until there's a bigger demand for it, right? You have met your own demand of just making a smooth way to render things. So that's all I will try to do if I'm working with this shit. Because I would like to have something that I render, right? I'm just saying. It could be so much better. It could be a landscape where I'm traveling around collecting things. I don't know. I could even control this with buttons or something. I don't know, bro. So many things are possible if you can render that. Then you can do particle effects if you want. Your way. I don't know, bro.
Commit.
That's all I did is just read a few lines and all of a sudden things have changed. Things have improved in quality significantly. But I just changed the resolution. I don't know, bro. It's some fucking stupid shit at this point. Hopefully when I redo everything, all the good stuff remains and all the bad stuff gets simplified out of the way. I also remember doing like cylinders, rendering cylinders. I'm not sure if that's a thing anymore. I've been rendering some weird shit. But then I guess when I simplified everything, it all came crashing down. Because I kept coming up with new ideas of how to render the whole thing. At first, when you saw those colored cubes all over the place, that was its own thing. And I wonder how long what is the gap between. You can see again, I'm going the right direction. I even do the transparent stuff that sort of can extrude a little bit. So that's nice. Very cool stuff to be able to do that. Because every single thing is just kind of like made out of pixels, right? And then you have to extrude that. So you have to hit those pixels in various ways. It's very complicated stuff. You have to enter the object, and now you're checking where you're traveling through. But it's at the same time, well, I did it, so it's there. Shouldn't be complicated. Now I just have to learn how to read my own code, in a way. So past that point, I came back to it. But I started with something else besides rants. Where was I showing my stuff? Spawn, small update, whatever. Here it is. This was actually pretty satisfying to make as well. And it's satisfying to look at. I don't want to waste too much time because I want to rant about whatever the ending of the video is. Because you don't learn that much at all here. These are like super basic, shitty techniques that I don't care about. Reprojection. That one kind of makes sense. It's a cool idea. And that's it.
From frame to frame, that's still good, but the technique wasn't quite right. So that leads us to more or less what's being used today in engines like Unreal.
That's pretty fucking pathetic. But can you imagine, right? Like, what if I just have technology that nobody even thought about? Which is kind of bizarre to me to think about. There are like a lot of triangles, and these are objects, technically. I define them as objects. You could have that many objects in the scene. Now, you don't actually need that many objects. The game, you can still make games with just minimal amount of them. But you can't make Minecraft. Okay, everyone struggles making Minecraft. Everyone is trying to like cut corners in that sense. Because it's just an absolute headache, so to speak. It's very, very difficult to actually pull this off. So even I couldn't have done it just yet, but we'll try again at some point, because it seems I'm getting pissed off that nobody's doing it. So, very simple as that. This brings me back a lot of cool memories because I was able to place and remove blocks, and I was trying to, you know, make stuff happen. But it's not good resolution, as you can tell. That's one of the like downsides that I couldn't quite wrap my head around.
The axis, basically. And it definitely follows the camera, which is kind of interesting. It's
After I've done like the mini objects, and now you feel like there's so many blocks.
just some kind of rendering bug.
Now that you feel like there's so many objects here, even though there's just one block, it's just the same extrusion trick that you have seen on a thumbnail. I don't know if I can scroll back, but it's literally the same extrusion trick, but and I call them like mini blocks or whatever. It's the same thing, but in a 3D space. So you have a mini block. You enter the mini block, and you render that shit. It's a really weird one. This one's a really bizarre one. To be able to do that, it really blew my mind. But then I just like reworked the whole entire thing from that position. And you can even have like transparent mini blocks, but you can't have them extruding in any way. It's just like you hit it and that's the end of your journey. But there is also no black spaces in this one because every single block is neatly next to each other. So there's no ability to like move things around, which is why I had to rework everything. I'm like, well, I want to move things around. I want things to rotate potentially. I don't know. I don't want to just be stuck with blocks. And I was able to escape that paradigm. Even though this was kind of cool, it wasn't useful in a way. So again, this is ray tracing. You're going through blocks that now the information is very easy to read. The ray just goes from one block to the other block. It hits something. And now for the mini blocks, I can enter inside the block and keep reading information inside this one block, meaning that I can still have even more information here that's going on, or like just a chipped away block a little bit. This mini block thing is pretty interesting, but I still had to let it all go and switch to something else. This is something that looked way better, way more interactive. You can place and remove blocks and all that shit. You can have animations on the side of the blocks with the textures and whatever. I've done a lot of things and just kind of had to switch to something that moves around. Because this is very, very straightforward, but stuck in one place at the same time.
As well.
Funny enough, even though I say move around, I still haven't done it yet, where you can see like animations of blocks actually moving around up and down or whatever. I still haven't shown it to you, which is pissing me off right now. Like, I still haven't truly escaped things being stuck in place, even with this engine. They're still like rotating, but they're stuck in place. I would like to move them around, and like it shouldn't be that difficult to do. Except I didn't try to. I'm not sure what the problem was. By the way, this is all still just rendering. It's all just information and rendering. There's no objects being created. I almost like store everything in the GPU as well. I'm not sure. It's very weird like that.
Made me like very
Also, those little animations of pulsating blocks, that was the weirdest thing that I came up with. That's again, you can play with textures so much that you come up with this shit. And just to flex. Literally just to flex, bro.
place a bunch of blocks. It doesn't seem that big of a deal to.
Ugh, I love that shit. Like in Minecraft, your game would crash if you try to place that many blocks, bro. Your computer would disappear for a moment.
Works. I will turn every block into an object.
So I'm already contemplating this new method, I believe. I'm already wanting to leave whatever this is and turn everything into an object. Because it sucks when this block is just kind of stuck there. It can be any kind of block in this position. It's still just stuck here. Even just moving an inch is impossible, bro. Even turning it into a little block that falls down, impossible. And you can move around. No. A pig? No, bro. I can't do that. So I needed to escape this nonsense and be able to have dynamic blocks. I'm very confused of where's my stuff at. Right? This is like 5 years ago. Here it is. Shaders. So, I labeled it as like this, the spawned engine, just 3 characters long.
Your microblocks.
I guess I call them microblocks. This is finally when you can actually see stuff. In this video specifically. Again, now that I started like working with geometry, and I need a screenshot for this, I noticed that, you know, like, they are still stuck in a block. You know, I can put geometry, but only in a block's position. I have to enter the block and then ray trace the geometry that way. So it's kind of fucking, like, stupid.
This awesome result. Very simple. While you have here
There's some crazy animations in there, bro.
a cone. I didn't cut.
Impressive.
It can be any size.
That is pretty interesting. Any size. So once you enter the block, you can split the block in multiple ways, right? You can split it like this. You can split it like this. That's what any size. You can even split it like this, technically. Right? It doesn't have to be equal amounts on both sides. And then microblocks, boys. But I'm not impressed. Will I ever need that sort of stuff? Possibly. And again, technically, the extrusion is doing the same thing. You take a picture of like, I don't know, I'll just do a 1. And then you just render all these pixels. The ray enters and then detects, oh shit, again, I guess I have to render this shit. And it can enter from any side. This will extrude. So it could be any picture here. But this one actually pisses me off. It's a very complicated thing to do when it's like high texture stuff. We'll see.
This one is bigger than the other one and whatever.
Yeah, this is actually fascinating. The quality of the video is weird, right? But it's just the quality of the game. Also, I'm fucking filming a screen, not screen capturing, because screen capturing would lower the quality even more, actually. Or so it feels like. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I needed, like, advice and stuff. But being in the bottom of the barrel, I can't even interact with human beings, unfortunately. Even this becomes complicated and overly complicated, and it's kind of useless. When you can just make simple objects float around, stitch them together into a cooler object, like a sword, like an actual item. But this is useless in a way, unfortunately. The rendering technique might be useful, but everything else about it is useless. I didn't even like animate the ball. Why did I not do that's like the coolest thing, and you can like add multiple balls into this. Why did I need a cylinder? Ball in Minecraft, bro? Give me that.
A higher range of blocks, or I was thinking about maybe I can.
This is still somewhat like, it feels more impressive than the latest version of whatever this is, but not really.
Do a terrain. I'm really just kind of stuck with geometry at the moment. It's the most notorious thing.
I love how it pans up here, because there's layers and layers of like infinite objects. And the terrain is like quite small. It just goes infinite. When the ray escapes one of those terrains, it goes to the second one, which is copied and pasted. So you can never escape this world, my friends. I love how everything is flickering, bro.
In order to actually properly ray trace.
For me, it's like fucking water. The feeling of water, bro. Technically, again, this is where it all stopped. The first version stopped there. Okay. Kind of sucks. I never quite picked up on anything. I wanted to like show animations. I've done that too, and it's like not there, not available. It's kind of super sad, bro. Yeah, at some point I had to disable it because it was kind of laggy. Not because of it being laggy on a screen, it was laggy on, like, putting together the code itself. That was kind of an interesting problem. Whatever. I guess we don't get to do that. And the introduction here is lame. I prefer this as the last one. So 5 years ago we ended with this. It's not even I can't even do a good screenshot because it simply is trash. So I guess I steal it from here instead. Now that I screen capture things again. Wow. Took me long enough. And it looks amazing, actually.
And some.
Yeah, so I wanted to make a coin because not only you can do this, you can do this. You can rotate things because it's still the same grid. You know, it's still a grid like looks like this, but it's all over the place on terms of inside the block. It's so weird, isn't it? But you can make a coin that like rotates from this to this and full size, whatever. You can make a coin rotate and spin around because you have a grid that also spins around. I mean, it makes sense and probably is useful at some point. I'm not sure. But I've already like made the whole thing, right? Where I make the coin and it does in fact spin around because it's just slightly extruded object that spins around. So I already solved all the problems basically with the next version of Spawned Engine. I just never allowed those objects to move around actually and animate themselves or do anything special. Which is kind of sad that I didn't break that wall, but at that point I had to say goodbye to everything. And it was the most disgusting thing and probably withdrawn a lot of the progress that I've made. But, you know, I got to socialize with morons of the world. Yeah, I just gave up with the geometry entirely. I stopped rendering that shit. I stopped rendering, yeah, even the grass. Oh, man, this is where I left it off before moving. Fine, this is going to be a screenshot, right? Well, I guess I have to watch the whole thing for the screenshot. Yes, now I have the power to actually change things properly from the past. You never know what powers you have until you explore enough. Please? Okay, thank you. Yeah, it immediately registers the change. I love how it looks now. I even was drawing the ideas on the paper.
It's just simple as that.
I mean, it's way more simpler to just use circles and polygons, I think, to put things together. But with this, well, you're entering smaller and smaller circles as it goes up and down, right? It's a circle still, but it's smaller and smaller. But still, you can calculate that stuff, right? With math, unfortunately. This one requires math. I don't know when you use cones, actually. I would just stick with one. I don't know, bro. It's just some weird shit I picked up and wanted to add, and sort of it worked, but was too complicated and had to scrap it. Funny enough. So let's go back here. Does anything groundbreaking happen in the end of this video?
It's right there in the name.
Yeah, the ending is where you have to just, like, shut the fuck up, man.
In the middle of the screen.
It's so stupid. Like, ray tracing makes me feel so fucking good and confident with how you render things. The only problem with ray tracing, maybe at this point, is resolution, but, like, not really. I'm just saying it's not really a problem because you just, like, hit an object and you get pixels out of it. And usually objects are kind of like smooth and not overly textured in a way. Just slightly shaded. You can see how simple it is. Now, if it is textured, you still pick something simple for the screen to look at. It might be flickering, though. I don't know, bro. But it's way less uncomfortable than this. So not only I escaped the regular rendering of this garbage and made it my own, but my version is also simpler and innovative, it feels like.
Which is awesome. What does the future bring? I'm not sure. There's really exciting work being presented where individual objects are now being broken apart and occlusion culled, which is a logical next step. And then you have technology like Nanite from Unreal Engine, which is something of an automatic level of detail system. Very cool stuff. Be under no illusion.
Sure, whatever, though. It's just graphics at some point. I want to, like, interactive games and stuff with this. Like, can game developers pick this up and use this and craft these intricate details? I don't know, bro. See, like, if you overcomplicate things, it might look cool on the screen, but it's just absolute nightmare for developers to deal with. While I'm trying to just create a system that is simple to understand and simple to use. Like, extremely simple and still innovative, unfortunately, for these people. Like, I can't believe that shit.
There's so much work that goes into modern rendering, and we've just started scratching the surface.
Yeah, and fucking stop, because my eyes are scratchy too right now. Ugh, I don't want to see that shit. So this is the end. We have to still watch this whole part, because it's pretty intense. It would be so amazing to have a control panel where I can control values. The hard values of things. This is very important for me. In order to, like, test things and modify things. Allowing people to access that shit is kind of cringe. But I definitely need it myself. So with all of these control values, just by sliding things around, which you're not sure of how they work exactly, you can achieve a pretty interesting result, or find a sweet spot. And I think I got it.
You suck, man.
And in that sense, you can do testing while you're playing the game. You can do programming while you're playing the game, because you're just sliding values and testing if it works or not. And I really love the approach. I just never could have, like, picked it up, even though it simplifies my programming, like, fucking 5 times or something like that. Because every single time you make a little bit of tiny change, once you decide on something, you have to redo everything. Save this, reload, try it out, test it. Like, it's kind of bullshit in that sense. So I still haven't picked up the control programming, controlled variables. So yeah, using the control values, I'm trying to understand what is stealing FPS the most, what kind of process. And I don't think I figured it out. I think this is the last thing, and then I chunk rendered whatever. I will still check the final thing and make a thumbnail for it.
Shows. Now I want to look into different angles and how they change frame rate. This is cute. No, I just love this. This works for me, man. This is the best we have so far achieved, for sure. Even though it's like 20% more.
Funny enough, it's still a little bit complicated to hit the object. Right, you have a little polygon, you hit the object, and then you have to move around, navigate of, like, what is this pixel, what is this pixel, how do you translate that to the screen. It's a little bit complicated, that part, but yeah. You probably just shoot a bunch of rays, and then again, check the screen of, like, okay, I'm missing this piece, and then you shoot more rays into those places. You kind of, like, do dynamic rendering, layer by layer, figuring out. And it's still ridiculously fast because, well, maybe not exactly, because every single time you are sending this, But otherwise, I was sending rays for every single pixel, guys. Like, literally. I'm sorry, bro. So that will be the third way of rendering. In summary, third rendering... Nah, first rendering was just a bunch of cubes stacked together. You can enter a cube and do questionable things. But basically just a lot of cubes stuck together. Like 64K, 64K. This was the first way of rendering. Second way of rendering is actually ray tracing by sending rays through the arrays. Alright, every single ray is traveling through an array of data that is somewhat organized. But every single time I move the camera, this data array has to be reorganized, which is kind of a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. Third way of rendering is to create a bubble where data is floating around and is organized in your little worlds. And only once you leave the bubble, it has to be reorganized. And as you're rotating, you're just grabbing different sorts of data from different positions, right? And probably I array and split the world into small pieces of arrays to read from. That would contain probably like 10,000 objects anyways. Not that many, actually. And then you can render that shit. That is the third idea I have. Probably, you can still come up with something better. And just like always, the simplicity creates 4 ways, right? You have the blocks kind of representing the water element. I still want to do this fucking thing. Every single time I'm like, well, this is the water element. This is like the super simple way of ray tracing. The more complicated way of ray tracing is inventing the required way to organize things, right? And now that you organize things, you actually have the earth element of things, you know, looking like that. Very organized, right? The mountain of data. And now we have something that will look like the sun, clearly this the fire element, where your player is stuck in the middle here, rendering things into the outside. Like, this looks so fucking cool. This is how it's gonna look like. Wow.
Currently, the building speed of blocks is pretty slow.
What? That is slow. That's annoying, bro. Refresh
It's pretty slow.
takes so much time.
It's very much acceptable speed, and it's lovely.
I am resetting all the block positions, all the like million blocks. But apparently it's different from rendering them. Funny enough.
From here is what I want to do right now. Oh, I forgot I got restraining order for this thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Fuck you, little bitch.
Guys, I forgot it means nothing.
Yeah, there's no lag, unfortunately. Why was there... I mean, that's what I expected. And that's pretty fucking cool.
I forgot it means nothing. This is almost like insignificant thing to do.
This is the stupidest... This is the most mind-blowing part of the whole thing. Holy shit. Oh my god. It eats my brain out. The level that I've reached. It feels like an animation now. It feels like a fucking moving, breathing object. But it's land. It's a landscape moving and breathing. It's crazy, bro.
You know,
Yeah, the only thing you need to do is offend me really badly, and now I'm coming back to kick some ass. You don't know how to render things? Are you serious? You that fucking stupid?
code.
Yeah, for something to go viral, you just have to show the fucking fluctuating terrain. Something really bizarre. I can't wait to do that. But it will require rendering 3, haha.
However, opening up new terrain should be fast. Opening up old terrain, this is terrain, but there are some objects that you have to load. Some
That's annoying, man. Loading objects, that's so evil, bro.
Like there's always
At some point, like, Minecraft turned into absolute trash when you feel like building things and doing things, and it's like, why? Why? It's also taking up so much computer space when you do that. Like, it's supposed to just be a game, and it turned into a serious nonsense. Eventually, everything becomes like that. Hearthstone is becoming into serious nonsense, where it's reaching its limitations, and nobody knows how to, like, backtrack and reset the game. If they don't know how to reset Hearthstone into anything, it will just turn into, well, sludge eventually.
pretty sad. Don't worry about that. Okay. That's how long it takes. That's how long it takes. You want to timer that? Let's go, baby. Save. Oh, I fucked it up. Fucked it up. Sorry about that. Let's save again. Oh.
Not exactly sure what I'm loading here, but the idea of this is that loading things takes a lot more time than rendering now. And all of a sudden, the entire operating system fucking falls apart. It's a fucking black hole that sucks in everything if you don't do things properly. So now the biggest problem is loading a bunch of objects in, which is why you probably don't want to have like expensive worlds in Minecraft where you build a bunch of shit and then you have to save it on your computer and then you have to load it as you run around chunk after chunk. That's the hurdle I can't actually jump over. Loading a bunch of things, a bunch of items, that one is hard. But it technically is just a text file, but like it's million of I don't know. We'll see. It scares me a little bit, but not too much. Because I can sort of like load stuff here as well, fairly fast. What is the file I'm loading? Not big of a file though. This is not even a picture file. 60 kilobytes. And it loads instantly, obviously. It's a pretty decent chunk of information. And technically it defines my entire button world. Meaning that the interactive space only takes 60 kilobytes to load. You know, and everything else can be simplified to that. So far the news are pretty good for rendering 3 version. Alright, so let's rewatch the last update and move on with our lives. How did I end up choosing this? Probably it's a very zoomed out look. But you will literally forget about lag. Like, lag just fucking makes up the feeling of like everything is unplayable and shit. So fucking frustrating. I guess it's literally the last thing that I've shown. I never even zoomed in or made things fluctuate. Fucking boring.
Forward.
This is not generating as I move.
Forever.
It literally just, it's infinite. It just moves the plane of sight.
And it's not exactly.
I can move as fast as I want.
It's the whole. Alright, well, the visible space moves.
This feels a little bit faster this way.
It's not loading chunks.
So that's why I zoomed out.
Visibility. I don't know.
So it's a little bit irresponsible for me to, you know, leave this behind, but I thought it was, you know, a little bit too complicated anyways. Apparently not. Apparently, the actual generic way of rendering things is complicated. So fuck that shit, bro. I love this. Because again, I don't even have to like create an object to see this. I can attach something to an object, but I don't have to create anything. It just randomly spits information into a special place. Like, I don't know, bro. This is so much cooler. Anyways, that will be the end. I probably need a screenshot anyways. I love just moving around.
Dates too, so that's interesting.
Like, you pass some kind of mountain. Like, you can find so many cool things randomly generated. This is amazing. This is going to be a special mountain. This is how long it took me to be warmed up to the feeling of, like, returning to this project. It took me a lot of time. 2 years. 3 years now. Pretty much.
Guys.
I mean, does Minecraft generate terrain this fast? But again, Minecraft terrain is technically loading and saving chunks. It remembers itself. It's a little bit more complicated and it has more objects and structures to load and to think about. So, it's a weird one. Also, the FPS now is like ridiculously good.
But that's...
I'm impressed, bro. Holy shit. So I updated 3 thumbnails. If you type in spawned ray tracing at the top. Spawned ray tracing. No, don't have it. But you see that this stuff will stand out a little bit as it marks certain territories. Hopefully the search engine will fix itself, because that's fucking annoying. Ray tracing engine. No, it doesn't show it. Fucking assholes, man. Like, I literally named it that way. Ray tracing engine. I don't know, bro. It should show up eventually.
just moving it along.
So this is where I left off, and I'm not unhappy with that. I'm not sure what the fuck this number means, by the way. How did I come up with that conclusion? Fucking Hearthstone footage, boys. This is some old shit. At turn 3, you should be winning the game, bro. What's wrong with you? Alright, see you guys next time.